But I remember one day I was working on her leg and I was going to stretch her hip out, and then I put my hand on the side of her knee and she said, "Oh my gosh, that hurts. Don't touch it." I'm like, "Well, what'd I do?" Oh my God, I'm sure I didn't do anything else. And all she said was that my knee's been hurting for 20 years. And I said, 20 years? Okay, well, that would have been good to know, months ago before we started all this. And so we talked about how she used to be able to run, she used to do all that, and she used to feel like she had to run to get in shape. Now, raise your hands, who's ever had the thought of getting in shape and you associated that with running or some kind of cardio? Yeah. And then how'd that go? How'd that go when you started trying to run? How'd that feel? Miserable. So let's talk about that second myth. Is the fact that you need to, I have to run to get in shape. That's myth number 2. This is probably the one of the ones I love to address, because I remember going in high school. I was a big runner, and that's what I thought of. I thought of needing to run to get in shape, but that could not be far from the truth, and this is why. So I'm going to draw Sally as a stick figure, okay? And we're going to highlight something. So when Sally extends her leg and lands on the ground, that initial point of contact. Did you know that when you land, as you're running, it's up to 4 to 6 times your body weight of impact on that one leg? So let's just pretend we weigh 100 pounds for instructional sake, and I land on my foot as I'm running. That's 400 to 600 pounds of load on one leg. And then I got to do it again. And then I got to do it again. And I got to do it multiple times, and it's additive. It's not like it's 400 pounds and that's it. I take a step and then I do it again, then that's 800 pounds. And then it just keeps going. It starts to add. And so people say, well, running's bad for your knees. Well, maybe we're not quite in shape to run yet. And so there's all these issues that start to happen at the ankle, the knee, at the pelvis, and then the back. Who's ever felt that one when we try to run? But that's a big thing. You need ankle stability. And so what ends up happening is you start to develop shin splints. Who's ever had those? Yep. You start to develop, knee pain, and that comes in its variety. You start to develop also IT band syndrome. Anybody ever heard of that? Anybody not know what your IT band is? Okay. Always have to ask. Now, you have these muscles right here from the hip down angled this way. And its tendon, the way it attaches to the bone, is very long. It actually goes down all the way to our side and wraps in front of our knee. That is what our IT band is. In our IT band, I'm not going to go into all the details. What ends up happening is that you have these lateral hip muscles that should keep you upright. But what happens is, for whatever reason, our pelvis isn't strong, so our body changes the way we move. It changes the way it works, and it starts to use this particular muscle too much, or the knee starts to fall in. And so you get that collapsing effect, and you start to overstretch the tendon to the point where it starts to tug at the knee. And then you start walking around, and you're like, oh my gosh, why does my knee hurt? So it sounds like a horrible process, but if you know what's going on, you take the mystery out of this pain. And I think that's one of the hardest things for people to figure out, is that trying to pinpoint, why am I hurting? That's probably the hardest part, is the unknown. So this lateral hip muscle is probably the biggest contributing factor. So everybody go ahead and stand up. So I want you to feel what I'm talking about. All right, so everybody feel your bone right here. So you have your hips here, go down to where your femur is. Yeah, a little lower, and you'll feel a bone right through there. A little lower. Nope, yours is lower. Nope. Lower? No. A little lower. Who cannot find it? Yeah, it's just right there. It's that bone that if you lay down on your side, it just doesn't feel good. Okay, so if you get that bone, you go just right above it. It gets a little soft tissue right there. Yep, everybody has it. Good. Now, everybody go ahead and stand on one leg and feel if that muscle pops out into your fingers. Yeah. And go to the other side. You have 2. They both work. Well, at least they should. Okay, that's your lateral muscle. All right, go ahead and have a seat. Thank you. If that muscle isn't as strong, then the IT band starts to affect that. Or if the ankle isn't stable, control in all these stabilizing tendons and muscles that go down, the ankle isn't controlled. And so instead of it being a nice spring, it ends up being sort of a boggy spring. And then your bones just get this impact, and then you start developing shin splints. That's what shin splints are. It's a sort of precursor before a stress fracture. I know that sounds like really horrible. All your eyes just looked at like, whoa. But that's what it is. It's just the bone not feeling good. But I'm telling you, every single runner I've worked with that's had shin splints, and we started working on ankle stability, shin splints go away. We like to blame the circumstance, like the shoes, the running form, and all that has a contributing factor, but that's not the determining factor. Control in our body is the determining factor. And so that's a big reason why. And then people get into this mess of trying to run, and they're just forcing it, and they think, well, I can't run, so I'll just do the cardio machine, because that's the easiest thing. It does it for me, and I just have to work at it, and I sweat, and I feel good, right? Well, it doesn't really work that way, because then what happens if you really do have to run? No bueno. So we talked. So Sally and I kept talking about, how it's not the best idea to try to run to get in shape. And of course, the question then begs right after that is, well, what do I do to get in shape?